For most runners, a sub 20-minute 5K feels like that magic barrier, and they're probably right given that on average only 6.4% of park runners actually do it. It's the wall that separates the casual jogger from the serious runner. But every single week, someone breaks through it, and by the end of this video, that could be you. I'm Russ, a 16-minute 5K and 2:43 marathon runner, and I've helped tons of runners smash their 5K time goals. I'm going to show you exactly what your fitness level needs to be at to have a chance at cracking sub 20, then the training that will be involved and how long it will take you to get there, tapering and some race day stuff, and how to tactically pull off the best race to give yourself every possible chance. Finishing with some of my key observations on what holds athletes back the most. Basically, the whole point of this video is to give you all the information that you need so that when you stand on the start line of your next 5K time trial or park run, you'll have the confidence to push yourself, come away with a smile on your face, as well as a ton of lactic acid. Okay, so let's get you from just running to truly racing a 5K and achieving that all-conquering sub 20 that you've always wanted to tick off. So what does it actually take? The first thing to note is that very few people, if any, can wing a sub 25K. Unless you come from a current and very sporty, high intensity type background, you're going to need a miracle. And even then, you still need a lot of luck, because to run sub 20, you need to average 3 minutes 59 seconds per kilometer, or 6 minutes 26 seconds per mile. That sounds quick, and it is, but thousands of runners have done it, and so can you. So to stand a chance, having gone through a dedicated 12-week or so training block, I'd say that you need to be currently somewhere quicker than 27 minutes in your 5K. And that would be for someone with a relatively active background that perhaps just hasn't been active in a while. Some athletes that I've worked with have managed to pull it off coming from outside of that, but they have been the anomalies. The closer that you are currently to 20 minutes, the easier it's going to be. And if you're a runner coming from a longer distance or trail type background, we can just jump into our trusty VDOT calculator to see where you would need to be with other race equivalents to be able to go and run a 5K today. So remember, that's today. So if you're already around the 3-hour marathon shape, given the right tactics on the day, you should be able to stand a good chance of going sub 20. So what does the training look like? Well, let's take a 12-week block of training and break that down into 3 distinct segments. The first being base building, because before speed, you need endurance. And if you're running under 4 times a week, you can start there. Get your frequency of running higher, because you're going to need to mix up the types of runs that you're doing. To begin with, your key run is that easy run, zone 2 stuff, slower than you think, around 5:30 to 6-minute kilometers, about 8:50 to 9:40 a mile. Now, these runs, they need to run at what we call a conversational pace. Basically, you're able to hold a conversation with someone when you run with them without being too out of breath. These types of runs are great opportunities to catch up with friends or catch up with your latest podcast, and they help to build your aerobic base and strengthen those connective tissues, which should help you avoid those little niggles and bigger injuries in the long term. Sometimes you may feel like these runs aren't doing much for you, but trust me, after a few months, you'll look back and see that you're running with much less effort and a much lower heart rate for the same relative pace than you were to begin with. Add in one longer run each week, 8 to 10 kilometers at an easy pace. Remember, you're not chasing speed yet, you're laying the bricks for it. So once we box that off, we then move on to speed development, which takes place between weeks 4 to 10. We want to start adding quality sessions to improve our aerobic capacity and improve our speed endurance. So these workouts, they train your body to handle fatigue, process that lactate more efficiently, and improve your ability to stay strong when things get tough. And trust me, they will. Now, these are my 2 key workouts that I think make all the difference. Threshold runs, so around 4:15 to 4:25 kilometers, that's 6:50 to 7:05 miles. 20 to 25 minutes of continuous running, or split that between 2 by 10 minutes with a 2-minute rest. These runs, they should be difficult, but not all out. So they're the type of runs that tend to give you that endorphin hit when you know that you've pushed yourself, but not to the extreme. And they teach your body to clear that lactate more efficiently, which is the secret to holding fast paces for longer. And a very good analogy that I once heard is that your car, think of a threshold run as helping make your car run more fuel efficiently. Then we have our VO2 max interval sessions. So examples can be 6 by 800 meters at 350 pace or so with a 90-second recovery. And as you improve, you want to extend it to 5 by 1 kilometers or 4 by 1200 meters. So the main aim of these types of sessions are to improve your aerobic ceiling. So basically that's the maximum rate at which your body can use oxygen during that intense exercise. So back to the car analogy, imagine you're increasing the size of your car's engine. It will allow you to produce more power. Now, if all of this sounds like too much science, don't worry. Think of it simply. One session to build endurance, one to build speed, and plenty of easy running in between. And gradually try to increase the volume of training that you're doing so that come weeks 8 to 10, you're hitting the peak of your training and running the most volume. Just a quick reminder to like and subscribe, guys. You've been fantastic in helping me grow as quickly as I have. So let's keep it going. I want to hear from you. What's your current 5K time and what's been the hardest part of your 5K training so far? Let me know in the comments and I'll see where I can help. So here's what a balanced week would look like. Now, Monday typically is a rest day for a lot of people, or you can do a strength training in there as well. The focus being on recovery and stability, having done a long run on a Sunday. Tuesday, always intervals, VO2 max, high speed sessions. That's focusing on that efficiency side of things. Wednesday, easy 5 to 7 kilometers or so. That's focusing on the aerobic base. Thursday, a threshold run, and that's focusing on controlling that lactate side of things. Friday, you could take a rest or cross-train depending on how you feel, and that's aiming to kind of reduce that injury risk. Saturday, easy run, focusing on your endurance, getting ready for Sunday, which would be your long run of 8 to 10 kilometers or so, and that's going to help build your stamina. So that's it. You don't need 100 kilometers a week, just a good solid structure. And I know life gets busy, but if you hit 80% of this plan consistently, you're already going to be miles ahead of plenty of other runners. Then we enter the final stage of your training, which is 10 to 12 weeks, and that's the taper and race phase. You've trained for months, you've saved it all up, now it's time to cash it in. A 5K isn't like a marathon where you need to taper for 2 to 3 weeks to make sure that your body's in that tip-top shape come race day. So that means that you'll be peaking your running a few weeks out from the race and then giving yourself a taper of about 5 or 6 days out. If you taper too much with a 5K, you can actually lose the neuromuscular edge that 5K racing needs. So you want to maintain that intensity, but reduce the volume and rest 1 to 2 days before the race, or do light 20 to 30 minute jogs with a few strides thrown in. Personally, I never like doing a shakeout run. I know they're popular, but for me, the day before always just doesn't sit well with me. I feel like you should be resting your legs as much as possible. So then comes the big day. You're standing on the start line, training's in the bank like we said, and you're feeling great. What are you going to do? Pace it evenly. The first kilometer should feel almost too easy. If you watch shows 3:45 a kilometer, you're going too fast. Elite runners, actually, they do a positive split, and that's where they start fairly fast, then slow slightly, and then push again for the final sprint. And you could aim for that too if you have a few races under your belt and you're able to stay disciplined. But that being said, one of the biggest reasons for not going sub 20 is that inexperienced runners, they go out too fast and end up blowing up. So if that's you, or you think it would be you, and it probably is, I'd recommend trying to run the race as evenly as possible and then giving it a full send come the finish. And a good way of doing that is by splitting the race mentally. So the first kilometer to the second kilometer, they should be calm. Then 2 to 4 kilometers, you want to be more in control. And then 4 to 5 kilometers, that's where you need to find your courage and give it full send. I actually find the 3 to 4 kilometer the hardest part because it's the easiest part to drop too much time in. And you need to concentrate for the entirety of the race and make sure that you're sticking to your timings. The race isn't long enough to claw back a lot of time. And if you've lost it by not paying attention, you're probably not going to get it back. And we also need to make sure that we're fueled and warmed up correctly. And a bit of a carb load should help, but we're not taking anything too extreme here. So 6 to 10 grams of carbs per kilo of body weight in the 48 to 24 hours before the race is the guidance, and then followed by a fairly carb heavy breakfast in the morning is ideal. But like if you're me, Your park run starts at 7 a.m. and you don't want to be getting up at 4:30 or so to have your breakfast. A small carb snack the hour or so before the race isn't the worst thing in the world. Then when you're there, a full warm up with strides, getting you up to race pace, getting your body familiar with your target pace, and you'll be ready to go on the start line. Remember, guys, it is gonna hurt, especially from 3 kilometers onwards. That's the test. 8 minutes or so of pain for you to achieve what you've been working months for. You can do it. Now, some other things that I've noticed have held runners back is their breathing. A quite common misconception is that we need to get in as much oxygen as possible when you're running. Now, look, your body can only use so much oxygen at a time. So even if you were to give it more, it won't necessarily be able to process it. And what tends to be more of an issue is getting rid of the CO2, which is critical to help clear your lactate. A good way of kind of getting around this is to practice in a 2x2 rhythm. So kind of 2 steps in, 2 steps out during harder efforts. And that will help control your oxygen use and your CO2 output at the same time. You want to be thinking exhale fully rather than inhale deeply. Then you've got people's mindsets. Now, your brain will beg you to quit at around 3 kilometers. Many runners slow too much at that point, like I mentioned earlier, and that's pretty normal urge. But use the VO2 max sessions to help train your brain to stay calm when it starts to hurt. Set yourself those little mental targets and cues to help you get through those difficult moments. And then we've got the strength training, and this is a key element that so many runners overlook, myself included. It's incorporating 1 or 2 gym sessions a week. Focus on heavy compound lifts like squats, lunges, deadlifts. They'll help you stay injury-free and also improve your running economy. You want to be aiming for 3 sets of 6 to 8 reps and focus particularly on single leg variations, and that will help address any imbalances. Remember, running is a single leg sport. Every breakthrough starts with a plan, and we've just built yours. So now I want to hear from you. It's your turn. What's your current 5K time? And what's been the hardest part of getting those times down and the 5K training that you've been doing so far? Let me know in the comments and I'll see where I can help. Please make sure that you like and subscribe and check out plenty of my other content to improve your running, which you can find here. Ta-ra.